Hitting go live. Go live.
Go live.
We are live.
Hi, Stuart.
Hi. Sorry, I'm just finishing something up here.
Yeah, we're doing another TNG review. We're on one of the classic, iconic crossover episodes. And in fact, it's noteworthy straight from the get-go. This one was produced around the same time as Star Trek VI. So that is now... We're now at the end of the TOS love, the original TOS love, into the, post-TOS love. So this was a real good year for Nimoy. Yeah, so that's how that all connects.
Absolutely. Yeah, this one was, well, kind of sad because this one is dedicated to Gene Roddenberry. This was right after he passed away. So, but yeah, getting some old heavy hitters in with Leonard Nimoy and Mark Leonard was great.
Which is obviously doubly interesting then, because you can directly compare how they looked on screen in both of them in Star Trek 6 and this, like how they can look young or aged up 100 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is pretty rare. Pretty rare. Although, back in 1 second, I'm missing my lip balm. 1 second.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, just 1 second. I just gotta do something real quick.
Okay, go. We're swapping here. But yes, lots of Vulcan and Romulanness here today. The Romulans, certainly at this point, fans have enjoyed them, but underused. And this one is theoretically a two-parter that involves Romulans. And as with all these things, I have not gone back to watch this one in HD. So it's my first time enjoying it, and I just finished watching it mere moments ago, about 7 minutes ago I finished. So we'll see if it matches up. A little small Easter eggy thing, if you look at this thumbnail and compare it to the actual show, because I'm fighting the aspect ratio of the show. The show is finished in 4:3, which is a box similar to this Skype box, but our thumbnails have got to be not just widescreen, but cut down for vaguely anamorphic because of the nature of having that top bar. And so I actually had to Photoshop this one heavily. Perry, I think is her name, the wife, is actually Photoshopped around her, pulled her back into the body, reshifted, so, and then Picard's moved. It's a whole thing. I was trying to fit everyone in the same frame. A lot of that cheating I've got to do. But of course, guys, please do share this if you want people to watch Unification Part 1, and like the video. We want to get at least 100 likes, as always, our baseline. And of course, super chats, we rely on those. As you guys know, for about 80% of our income, as both sad and amazing as it is true. And in this time between now and the new treks, which are, boy, barreling close, we are doing some TNG, and at a certain point we're gonna do some DS9 as well. So no, it'll be good. But what do you guys think? Do you let us know in the chat right now. Do you enjoy this episode?
I am back.
Hi, Stuart. Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm fine. Should I go and share then on all the Facey books?
Go ahead and do that, yes.
Okay, I'll see you in a minute.
Okay. So guys, super chats are a great way to help us out. If you want to put in your thoughts or comments about this episode, we'd really appreciate it. Oh my God, sorry, I'm in the middle of doing something here, guys. I apologize. But you know the routine. You can PayPal if you want. Just send the PayPal to trekyards@hotmail.com. Just let us know in the regular chat that you've done that, and we will get that, read your comment or question via the email through PayPal that way. And we will... God damn. We will then. My God, sorry, I'm just finishing something up. So, anyway, there we go. So, oh my goodness, I was in the middle of doing something. I apologize. So yes, if you want to help us out, you can do so also by clicking the links down below. There's stuff to the Teespring store and the Teespring store and the TeePublic store down below for some Trekyards merch. And if you want to join the channel, you can do so by hitting that join button. Really important. Make sure you hit that like button, also super important. And don't forget to be subscribed, to make sure you're subscribed to the channel and all that jazz. It's all very, very, very important. What else? Yeah, I think that's it. So just show your love for the channel any way you can, and like put your thoughts and comments in about this particular one as well. So this episode, while we're talking about it, because we do like to break these down. We will be doing part 2 tomorrow, which is not really called part 2. It's just Unification 2. So keep that in mind, and join us for that as well if you choose to do so. Anyway, I think I'm done that now. Sorry, I just had to finish that up. Pretty important things. So anyway, there we have it. Yeah, so hopefully Samuel won't take too long to share. But I apologize for being distracted there. Just kind of a thing. And I still haven't got myself anything to drink. So I might have to head upstairs in a minute here once he gets back as well. But we will get started. Followed by Unification 3. Probably not. Good question, Norman Buckwald. We kind of made a joke that we would do that on Monday, but I don't think we're going to do that. Just restream our Unification 3 live stream.
We're back. But, I'm back. I mean, we're back.
I'm back. Hey, welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back. I've been talking the whole time you've been gone, and you're back. So I'm like, I can take the pressure off for a second, but that's okay. Yeah. What happened?
I was reading the chat. I was gone for a second, but then yes, Stuart. So, Unification Part 1. Thoughts, memories of this back in the past. What do you remember? Because this must have been a noteworthy one for many reasons back in the day, at least when you first saw it.
Yeah, I was super excited to see somebody, Spock, particularly from TOS joining the TNG cast. I thought that was great, but it's very much looking with today's, wisdom and knowledge. It's kind of, the first episode is very much a Force Awakens kind of vibe. Like you wait the whole episode to see him, and literally the last second you see him. So it was kind of disappointing in a way that way. But definitely made up for it for the second episode. But this was an interesting lead up, and I was excited back in the day for this. Absolutely, I didn't know Sarek would be in it, so it's kind of a double whammy, which was great. Although it's really, the Sarek scenes are really, really sad and depressing, and it's just not a great visual, unfortunately. But anyway,
so on this watch, then.
Yeah.
What do you think on this watch with our detail, analytical brain thought as part of it?
Well, this one, the whole Vulcan deflector thing, exploded ship, makes more sense. I never really understood that on the first watch through. I mean, they do explain it in the second episode with the Vulcan ships, I guess, but this one really confused me. But this time around, it's like, oh yeah, this all makes really, really good sense. Everybody's got something to do, more or less. Crusher's got a minor thing. She's a tailor in this one, tailoring ears and things. But other than that, I mean, Riker gets command of the Enterprise. It's pretty good. It's and it's good seeing Data and Picard and Romulan guys. That's really great, and on a Klingon ship, no less. And the whole Gowron thing comes back as well. I wish Gowron would have been in this one, but we got the junior adjunct. Which is kind of funny, and that whole thing went really interesting and funny. So there's a lot going on here that ties to different episodes. So, I enjoyed it.
Do you think you enjoyed it any more or less in this version of the rewatch? We're actually really thinking about it.
I enjoyed it more. I definitely enjoyed it more because I knew what to expect. Like I didn't expect to see Spock any second. Just never, first time it was kind of disappointing, like I said. But this one, I really got a lot out of it, and I really appreciate the attention to detail that went into it with the whole weaving of the story as far as this mystery deflector and stuff goes. So, yeah.
Sure.
What about you? What about you? First time versus this time?
Well, I mean, the first time is more. I remember again in the encyclopedia seeing the Spock comes out of the shadows. I've seen that clip more than anything else, and I remembered the scene with Data being creepy staring at Picard. Those are the two memorable things in this one. The Sarek thing kind of is a side note enough that is its own thing because respect to Mark Lennon, that's his last appearance. So that is his last. That's that's a separate entity all to itself. But just like with Force Awakens, you want the thing that's promised, and it fails to give you that entirely. And unlike Relics, where it's about focusing on the character, the least interesting stuff is the Spock stuff this episode. For me, so for this time round, I was intrigued by the start, but grew less and less interested in the Spock stuff the more it went on because there wasn't anything to latch onto. As in finding Spock, because there wasn't anything there. So actually, I really liked the crew dynamic a lot more, and I found almost my favorite scene was just the one where they meet the alien dude, and then he becomes a nice guy by the end. Like that scene was more dynamic. Everyone was on point. Everyone was having fun with it. It was good to see Riker doing something. Well, he does see his shields up, but proactively doing something. That was a more enjoyable stuff to watch than the Spock stuff. That said, obviously, it's more made up of individual scenes. You've either got the Sarek scene, or the Amanda scene, or the Data and his ears scene, or the Soup scene. No, it isn't.
It's not Amanda.
Yeah, so I got it right earlier, but yeah, so it's made up of little scenes that vary in quality, but they feel detached, as does the secondary plot. So it's an episode where you can almost pull half the scenes out and pull them throughout a season, and for some reason you put them all together, it's not particularly engaging as a story. It's like, oh, that's a good scene, but and then it's very strange that way. So it's okay. It's definitely not a good episode to me. It wasn't particularly enjoyable to watch. Some moments were enjoyable, but it's as if they knew what was happening in part 1 to part 2, and they said, right, how can we make a part 1 fit part 2, but without having really any inspiration. And Sarek is sad to watch. It's not, and if you're going to use Sarek in that way, it would have been nice to have more referential stuff to deepen his character, because he did gain some compass momentums for a few moments. And he mentioned Kismet for a half second, but if he could have pulled out more stuff, more deepening his character rather than just being a bit insane, yeah. So it's, and also I noted that we've long now since had the Bird of Prey bridge that was built for 5 or even 4, 4 and then changed. But it was odd they didn't even use the bridge. They used they took out the back wall, as in the door part, and used on one side. So they actually avoided using the main bridge element, just a part of it. It's like, but you've got an entire bridge set. Use the why are you refusing to shoot the bridge set? Maybe they were saving it for 6, even though it was in 5. I don't get
that
why.
being said, the corner they used was the same corner that Spock was sitting in Star Trek 4, in the one scene. You can tell with Picard and Data. It's in episode 2. It's not in this one, but in the second part, that's very obvious.
I just find it interesting. It's great to be on a Bird of Prey and sort of embrace that, but to actively avoid filming 90% of the set you've got, where all the scope is, seemed very odd to me. But I think the whole thing's shot kind of odd anyway. Everyone's not looking at the characters. Everyone chooses to look off in another direction for half of their conversations for some reason. The Spock's wife doesn't look at Picard for half his scene. Sarek doesn't look for half his scene. The Colonel Captain refuses looking for half the scene. Why is everyone not looking at the people they're talking to? It's a directorial choice, but it's just an odd episode.
I never noticed that. I'll have to pay attention.
It's constant in this episode.
Okay, well, you think it holds up better as a cohesive piece with part 1 and 2 together?
Well, I
Or
don't
because
remember
they...
part 2 enough. I mean,
Oh, okay.
but I think this is honestly going to be a best of both worlds situation. I'm just going to enjoy this part more because the promise of what could be is better than the payoff. But just the Spock stuff isn't interesting in part 2 for me. So you're excited for Spock. You don't get really good Spock. I mean, this is the Sarek episode, and he does good, but it's just sad. I don't know. It's just and it does just feel very. Yes, you're right. They connect to tissue at the end of the two subplots, but they feel so radically different. They feel like, well, why are we bothering about the second plot? But actually, the Vulcan stuff's more the Enterprise stuff is way more interesting than the Picard stuff. So my focus shifted to what I cared about, which is the opposite of what it should have been.
Interesting.
Odd.
Yeah.
But it was fine. It's average. It's fine. Patrick's good in it, but not great.
Well. Well, let's get into it. Oh, Eric Martin though, $2.
Eric.
I love the scenes at the shipyard. Yeah, there are some ships there, which is great. And yeah, that guy's kind of funny. It'd be funny, the 14-foot eel that they find in the guy's locker. It'd be funny if that was mentioned in Lower Decks. Like Mariner says, "Yeah, I left this eel in this ship, like years ago when I was serving on."
When I was a cadet, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder whatever happened to it. Just a reference like that, just in passing, or even a friend of hers that did it, would be hilarious. But anyway.
Yes. But we start off with another female admiral. We definitely have more female admirals than male admirals. I'm assuming that was intentional, but it's quite a fun note to have. Is he there?
Say that again. You cut right out there.
I said we start off with
Yes, I am.
another admiral scene. Female admiral. I feel like they definitely had more female admirals than male, which I'm sure is a deliberate choice, and it works well. Gives a nice energy.
Hashtag go woke, go broke. What?
Or just you
may as well. Wokeness was a thing.
Or just you may as well cast women because why not?
I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
This is before that was a whole issue, They
weren't throwing their womanness around. They were just women. That's how you should do it. But it's a very, very short scene, extremely to the point, and so to the point that Patrick doesn't even have to say anything, pretty much. It's like, oh, look, it's Spock. I'll say it with my body language.
Yeah. Yeah, so the Admiral comes on and says, hey, we had a problem. One of our advisors has jumped ship, essentially, and went over to the Romulans. And it's a pretty big deal. And then Picard's like, oh, my God, it's Spock. So I think it was a great setup, actually. And good reveal on the monitor.
Yeah, it comes across as so to the point there's going to be a lot else in the episode. They don't need to waffle or anything. Although, and I'll say this now, one of my complaints about the episode is that unlike every other appearance of Romulans ever, they have a lot of information about Romulus. They know the senators, where he goes every week, where he stays, where his family is. I do not buy for a single second they have that detailed reports on a planet that they have not even been to properly, let alone know one random senator's... You know what I mean? It's like the Romulans are known for those reports. I do not buy for a second the Federation of that level of scrutiny. How they've access to all that. It's irrational. Because otherwise they couldn't find him without having excruciating detail, Yeah. And even they say this picture was taken by their satellites. It's like, what? What, they have scanners zooming in from the border.
Well, what did she say? Something
50
specific.
light years, 100 light years into the planet, and then through. Like it's a very contrived way of having this picture. It would have been better if there was a Federation spy on the planet. But then you're like, well, if you can get a spy to Romulus, why can't they get Picard to Romulus? You create more questions. They just left it as, oh yeah, spy satellite. It's like, what?
Well, they don't say satellites.
Wow.
See, 2 days ago, intelligence reports placed him on Romulus, and I assure you, it was an unauthorized visit. Computer established link up. If it was, taken on Romulus by long-range scanner. So
yes,
long-range scanner implies that it's not in orbit or it's a satellite. It's more like from the neutral zone-ish. That's why it's all fuzzy.
Oh, so it zoomed from the neutral zone down through the atmosphere of Romulus into one street, to one district of Fountain. Do you know what I mean? That's an absurd statement. They didn't know.
It is. It is.
It's a laughable thing. Smarter ways of doing it. Like, it would have been cooler if they had shown him on
Many Bothans died to get us this photo.
That's good. Or many Bolanars? Many Bolans. Oh no, many Camarians, Kaminars, Kelpians. Many Kelpians died trying to get us this.
Oh, good God.
Well, it should have been like Spock. This was a picture taken on a freighter heading for Romulus from neutral zone, and it's just on a freighter. That would have been, I think, a much smarter way of doing it. And then that just, got leaked through the circles.
Yeah. Matthew DeFreitas, $2. This is where JJ got the idea for The Force Awakens. Just kidding.
Jay Donaldson says, Section 31 did it, and the story's a cover. Yes, but also if they did, then why would they send Picard? They already have access to him. Like, that was obviously taken in the square that they were in, That was obviously taken not from orbit.
Yeah.
That was taken on... Yeah.
Zango76 says photo taken by paparazzi. Yeah, it was TMZ. TMZ was getting some photos.
Exclusive report, yeah. Well, I love how they didn't bother enhancing the two people next to him that you visibly can see. Like, surely you enhance their pictures, then you run them through database and you find Pardak.
They do that later, but yeah.
No, they say, "Oh, look, that's Pardak. Here's another picture of it." So again, there's a stupidity chain, which is stupid, but it's a contrived story, so of course it is.
Yeah. Anyway, so then we get the briefing room scene where he's saying that this mission has more special meaning to him because he knows Sarek. He's going to go talk to Sarek to kind of get his insights as to whether he knows why Spock went or whatever. And then what's his name? Riker. I'm not on the ball today. Came in. And they're going to go talk to Sarek's wife because apparently she's coming to the ship. Sarek can't make the trip because he's not well. So she's coming over at 700 hours.
And the vibe is definitely he's real ill. Like, the tone is just like, yeah, he's...
They even say the man is dying.
They do say that, and that's pretty... Yeah. And
poor Picard, he's like, it's my honor to tell him that his son may have betrayed the Federation. And then later, he has to tell Spock, yeah, your dad died. Like, boom, boom.
Yeah, real bad day. And I really like, there's a constant reanalysis of, why didn't they make up? Because, they weren't friends in TOS, or they were fine in Star Trek 4. But they weren't, so to remake them not friends again, and then in the, 50-year gap, they sort of have to kind of just keep saying, well, not friends. And we'll get into that in a minute with the Cardassian War, but I like the simple thing that he says, well, sometimes father and sons don't get on, and Riker's like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Because we're like, we know his later story. No, his earlier story with Pulaski's like, yeah, nope, yeah, we know. So I like that as a small canon-y detail to its own show. But it's amazing how they can just, like, assuming they were really, because the Enterprise doesn't stay that close to Federation. Like, this must have been like a week, 2 week, 3 week trip to Vulcan. Maybe they could justify going 9.97 something, or 9.95, but that must have been a long old trip to go from exploring somewhere random to all the way into core worlds. A lot of time to think about it.
Yeah. There's also right here the first indications of this turned up in a random sensor sweep. We got metal fragments, possibly disassembled components identified as Vulcan. So from a down Ferengi ship.
It was destroyed an asteroid belt. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how underplayed it is, but Riker's like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Dave Stelzer, $2, not TMZ, TNZ, the neutral zone. But then Perrin comes aboard. That's her name.
Ooh, Shannon Nash has an amazing comment. Sealer could have leaked it too.
Very likely, actually.
I wish that's in part 2. Saying we deliberately sent pictures of Spock. That would solve every problem. Because the whole thing was to get Picard there for reasons. See, if it's all the Roman plot, that makes way more sense. Also explains why he's being allowed to just preach on Romulus for months, weeks, years, because he's not. He's being monitored.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, good job.
So Picard asks her if there's any possibility that Spock could have been kidnapped, and she's like, "No, he put his affairs in orders before he left, and he didn't even say goodbye to his father." Mm-hmm. She's pretty annoyed. So,
she also refuses to look at Picard.
Yes,
for a good chunk. And I thought her acting was pretty off. She feels really off in this particular scene. I'm assuming it's because she's playing it like, if your husband's basically dying any day, and he's dying, he could die any day, and here you are being, she's not in a good place right now, so of course her acting is not going to feel natural or organic or good. So I thought it was bad acting, but it was potentially in context. Like she's not all of her senses.
Yeah. She talks about the problems between Sarek and Spock over the years, and how she's just mad at Spock in general.
Yeah, but she doesn't say he's mad. She makes it very clear they fell out during the first Cardassian War, which was like 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, the debates over the Cardassian War. Yeah.
Or I think it's a bit disingenuous when she says, and he went against his dad's character. I feel like she's over exaggerating because she's pissed at him now. She's projecting. I don't like him right now. I don't get the sense he would really say, "Don't listen to my father. He's an idiot." Like he never did that.
What she says is he attacked Sarek's position publicly. I mean, she didn't agree with Sarek. He didn't agree with his own father, the ambassador. So that's basically attacking his opinion or his position, right?
But he did that all the time. And so the way she says it is like he said, "No, my father's wrong on this war. He's a wrong guy," and make him look like a fool. Like she makes it seem worse than just disagreeing, and that's why she's pissed at him. So it must be quite a big deal, and that's the only thing she gives is why they haven't talked in 20 years. Mm-hmm. If that's it,
because she was the one that was offended. She says, "I haven't spoke to him since."
So it's an odd set of scenes. You get the sense that really Sarek would have talked to him. Maybe she's even the problem, Well, she does say he wants to mend those fences, but as people have said in later in the episode, it's like they've had 20 years. Just not meant to be,
Yeah.
It's a weird scene though. It's a weird scene.
Yeah. Anyway, she allows Picard to go see Sarek. She said if it was anybody else, it would have been no, but you're a part of him, and he of you. So it is a weird scene. It's very expositionful and delivered well, I think. But yeah, mint tea.
Although you would think, since they're part of Federation, they'd have all Federation recipes in their replicators, and so could make human mint tea. Just saying.
You'd think.
Yeah. It's illogical to limit your wife from eating human food. That's not logical. So.
Gareth Rooney, though, €5. Jolan True, €5, courtesy of Royal Establishment. Thank you very much, Gareth. No, you're right about the replicator thing, but I get the feeling that it was more of a... Not that she couldn't get it, just that they probably made a lot of things, fresh or whatever from... I don't know. Not important, really, but...
Well, this episode is all about the small details, because they say a lot... it's a talkie, so I got the sense it was more that mint... because we know Vulcans have extreme senses, so it's too smelly for them to deal with, and so out of politeness she refuses. She doesn't access any foods that she really enjoys, because he'll be like, "Ugh, wife, I smelled this from 5 doors down," and she's like, "It's tea, father. Not father. It's tea, husband. I just want tea. I don't want your bland tea that tastes like socks." So yeah, that's the vibe I got.
Yeah. So yeah, moving on to the next scene is the cargo bay full of the debris, which is a bunch of really random stuff. But anyway, the indications are they're all Vulcan. It also means it was designed for use in space, and from the damage, must have been a high-speed impact. So,
well, I found it odd. They say it must be Vulcan. It's made of deuterium. It's like, what?
They don't say deuterium. They say
it's something very similar to deuterium, which I picked up on.
Dentarium.
Okay, good. I was like, deuterium, what are they on about? Okay, good.
Yeah. But anyway, they ask if it could be a weapons array, and it's like, no, there's no indication of stolen parts from Vulcan, so they don't know where this stuff came from. And it's going to be like putting a huge jigsaw puzzle together without having seen the picture.
Which really the biggest takeaway from that scene is jigsaw puzzles still exist. And
There
a
you
contemporary reference.
Yeah.
That's really the big takeaway from the scene. It's the least good of the what are we finding here Geordie scenes.
Yep.
But we cut to old man Sarek in his definitely a non-comfy bed. Not a bed, just surface. They don't look after their elderly well, do they, on Vulcan? The senile, old, dying stay on this leather thing in a cold room. It's like, oh, not very kind. This is his wife. Oh dear.
Well, it's probably a hot room, but
oh sure, yeah.
Not everybody needs the cushiness, I guess. Anyway, he doesn't really know what's going on. His emotions have taken over. He's just out of it, and she like yells at him to bring him out of it, and shakes him. But he's like, "Go away." So he's like, "Well, the card's here." He's like, "I don't care," essentially. And then he doesn't really perk up until Picard says Spock's name. Mm-hmm. And then he like comes to his senses. And it's a really sad scene to see. Like, this is, I mean, even when he's talking to Picard, he's kind of got things back in order, but then he mentions Pardak, and then Picard mentions Pardak, and he's like, "Pardak, the senator, you know of him?" It's like, ugh, rough, like dementia. And that's a scary thing to deal with. This scene really bothers me, actually. So,
and I'm sure, well, I would assume Martin Leonard loved the scene because he just played normal Sarek 2 months ago in Star Trek 6. But as an actor, you want to act, and so while it's not fun to watch, he's acting. He's delivering a senile, like a dementia patient, which he's never done before, potentially as an actor. It's really a lot of fun. But yeah, it's a weird one, and I'm intrigued by. We saw him in the last episode where he was losing control and he sort of let out emotion. This doesn't feel to me. It didn't feel anywhere near the same because he wasn't letting out emotion in the first part. He was just complaining to his wife in a slightly more emotive way. Like, he wasn't crying, yelling, happy, sad. Like, he was so taken by the swarm of emotion that he just couldn't process things. He wasn't actually just emotion-full. So it was a very different way of showing the Vulcan aging. And then, yeah, he actually, when he talked about Spock, I was expecting a bit more of a dimensional performance, where if this is a no-holds-bar Sarek, I was hoping for a bit more nuance with talking about Spock, whereas he just sounded like Sarek. But he's lost all his mental control.
Well, it doesn't sound like, well, okay, lost all his mental control, okay. Yeah. Because the way he's like, when he was a child, he would go into the mountains. I forbade him. Like,
that's the end of it. Yeah,
that doesn't sound like Sarek, though. That's like,
no.
It's, yeah. So I like the progression, though. Like, that was really well done.
I was just surprised.
I punished him,
Yeah, I was just surprised we didn't see a bit more emotional inflection to kind of have fun with that. For the middle bit, he seemed fine. Give or take, just a bit slow. So I was intrigued they didn't take the opportunity to kind of play with that at all. They would rather just have him be out of it than he's in it, says what he has to say, and then out of it again fully. Although certainly the No Live Long and Prosper is a really dark way to end the scene. And that's his last scene. It's like, oh.
Yeah, he can't even do the thing. Picard has to help him with that. But
real dark. And it's like, oh, bye, Mark Leonard.
Yeah. He did make the point of saying that, Spock's been working for Unification for a while. He met Pardak at Kittimer.
Well, he doesn't say Unification. We know that's what it is.
No, he doesn't.
But just...
Yeah.
He thought it was illogical to just keep talking to Romulans. Because, of course, they won't. But...
So it was illogical to maintain such an expectation.
Yes. Which is a good way of saying it. I liked his language choice. And obviously he mentions Kittimer, which means that's, 60 years ago. Long old time. Yeah. You see why he trusts him. Although, I can't imagine they actually did... Well, what is... we know the ambassador that was at Kittimer. It was that thin guy. It's not Pardak, is it? Surely?
No, that's Ambassador Nautilus.
Yeah, so I guess there was two ambassadors.
No, I mean, it's just part of the envoy. Pardak
Okay.
wasn't an ambassador; he was a senator.
Yeah, he was
Or
ambassador for 9 decades. So yeah, he was a senator. That's a bit weird to bring an ambassador and a senator. I mean, it could have easily have gone later, but I just find it interesting. That would have been kind of cool if he was in Star Trek 6, just that one reference.
yeah.
It's like, oh, there's Pardak, bye.
But yeah, this is a really sad scene. It really bothers me, and I mean, it's great for an actor as this is your way your character goes out, I guess. But it really bugged me. But that's because one of my biggest fears is getting dementia and kind of not remembering things like that, and this really bugs me. So, but yeah, the ending with the live long and prosper, where Picard has to add the "and prosper" part. But that's actually quite fitting because he is dying. So I don't know. Well done and a good, well acted scene for sure. But yeah. What is next?
Ben, who is Pardak, and we have one record of him from 4 months ago, which is a bit random. It's that recent, but cool. And yeah, they work out he's Pardak, and it's that easy. And then Data instantly knows a lot about him and where he hangs out. And he says he actually says when he's not at the Romulan Senate on the 4th day, he hangs out here. And it's like, you don't know that.
Before that, they're talking about getting the Klingon ship because they'll need a cloaked ship. And then it's heard about Gowron rewriting Klingon history and claimed that it was his genius that brought an end to the Civil War. And Picard's like, I honestly don't care that they don't mention us or the Federation's help in his rise to power.
Yes.
But we do need a ship. So if he won't talk to us, get somebody on the High Council who will.
I find that odd as well because, like, loads of people have birds of prey, and the fact that we know fleet captains have birds of prey. Birds of prey are easy. You just need a cloaked ship. It should be.
Or if you just message his brother, man.
Yeah, I suppose I didn't mention that either. It should be extremely easy to get a bird of prey, if that was the criteria. Now, obviously, if you need a bigger ship, fine. And I don't want to go through official channels, but it seems odd that they find it that difficult, as we find out later. And I've got so many thoughts about that in a bit. But it definitely reinforces we definitely don't have cloaks. We have to go to our allies at this point.
Yeah. Matthew DeFreitas, $5. With the syndicated nature of TNG, are you surprised how much Unification as a whole relies on Sarek, Redemption, and yet to be released Star Trek 6? No. Honestly, I don't. I think it worked out perfectly as far as I love the syndicated format because you can watch an episode and not be lost. These were references that if you didn't know them, who cares? They sound important. If you did know them, it's like, ooh, that's just an extra little spark, an extra little goodie. So you don't need it's not a crutch. They're not leaning on a crutch with those. They're just making references that people in the know will know.
Well, it's not just that, but they're referencing specifically the tentpole episodes that were appointment television. I'm sure the viewing figures of Sarek, once they promoted Sarek, were much higher than the average TNG episode. And so more people would have seen Sarek than not. And then, again, we know that this episode and next episode are the highest rated of all TNG. They're the best viewing figures by a decent margin. So people tuned in to watch Spock. So they also tuned to watch Sarek, etc. So these are special, special events. And obviously everyone saw Star Trek 6. So it's fine for this, they're special occasions.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. They the specificity, I don't know, specifics of Mr. Pardak's schedule is quite interesting.
Yeah. But I love the idea that maybe even Sealer helped. Like they would leaked information would be pretty fun.
He was a senator for 9 decades, 90 goddamn years.
and knowing that Romulans are a bit treacherous and that he's also a radical. They allowed a radical senator. I mean, he isn't, I guess, because there's the twist at the end. But just the fact that how many politicians are, it's like how many Marxists are in Congress and have been in Congress for 40 years who actively go for, or communists work in. It's like, really? How many radicals are allowed to be in government for that long? Now, that said, though, he could be like the lowest rung of senator, we're never given any sense to his skill level. So he could even be a token ambassador, a token senator. Could be a senator for waste extraction, know what to deal with waste. So you know what I mean? There's a slight ambiguity there. I think it would have been better though, I'll be honest. Dance to your internet. Hi?
I'm back.
I think it would have been better if he was the ambassador to Earth. Because then it would make sense to know a lot about him, because he's their representative, and it'd be a reason why Spock would go to him, and it'd be a reason why Sarek would know him, and it'd be a reason why the Romans wouldn't trust him. That, I think, would have made way more sense. Small thing. Because him being a senator doesn't really come into the story very much.
Well, no, the other guy in the second episode, the proconsul says that he hasn't been invited to official functions for years because he's kind of been a man of the people, and the senators didn't like that. So they do kind of try to make the indications that his career's been on the downslope, but anyway.
But it could still be, you could have that for a master as well, because they're quite important people, especially to the biggest faction in the Alpha Quadrant. You know, it's quite a high position.
Cool. Anyway, we get a hail from the Klingon homeworld.
And it's Gowron, right? Top dog, you know, top best guy. No, it's better than that. It's
Cal?
Oh. Is it not?
It's neither, sir.
Oh. It's the laundry attendant in the nightclub of Jack Bech. He washes your hands and gives you deodorant. It's like, what?
It's the guy that refills the vending machines on the council floor. Come on now.
It's the janitor.
Scruffy.
I was thinking that.
It's the junior adjunct to the diplomatic delegation, and his name is Bajak. Anyway, he regrets to inform everybody that Gowron's quite busy and can't speak with him today. And Picard's like, "We've been hailing you for 3 days. Is he aware of that?" He's like, well, you know, he wishes it was possible to talk to everyone, but he can't give an audience to just everyone.
Now, to be fair, though, he would be that busy.
Probably, yeah.
So I think the way he says it is relatively, justifiable. Because you wouldn't, if you hail Gowron, you should get one of Gowron's, seconds, second in commands. You wouldn't expect to talk to Gowron specifically, unless he happens to be free that afternoon. Like, what if he's off on some colony? You know what I mean? He doesn't need to be at the... So I think they acted it well.
He's off playing golf on his colony resort.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah. Took a 3-day holiday. So I actually quite like the level here, because they're playing political games, but even though no one's happy about it, it's a decent little chess game.
Yeah. I love the guy's like, "Do you want to leave a message for him?" And Picard's like, "A message? Tell Gowron, leader of the High Council of the Klingon Empire, that his arbiter of success in Jean-Luc Picard needs a favor. Just requires a cloaked vessel." And the guy's like, "That's no small favor, but it's for a mission that have, repercussions throughout the quadrant." He's like, You want me to tell him that? Yeah. Because what he says is he will have our what's in it? That says what's in it for Gowron. He says you'll have the Federation's gratitude. He's like, "You really want me to tell him that?" He's like, "Well, yes."
I like how nervous he is. He's like, he might stab me if I say that. It's a palpable hesitation there. It's like, oh shit, don't make me say that, please. He'll be pissed at me.
And then the kicker, and please add on that if he won't supply a ship, I'm sure that there are others in the Klingon Empire who would be more than willing to help me.
Because I remember there's a family called Duras that are quite resourceful. But Riker, number one, what's the number of Duras? It's 0749. Oh, Garon's in Temple Call? Okay, great, cool. Hi, Garon. It's kind of how that plays. Well,
and then just the ending, and then they would have our gratitude. Just like, ding. Perfect.
It's Picard negotiation at its finest. Not a raised voice. Although, again, I find it silly the way he places emphasis on, well, cloak ship? That's a big ask. We only have every single ship in the Armada has a cloak.
Except for the freighters and the...
Yeah. We only have 570,000 ships that have cloaking devices. Now, it would have been good if they'd said, we need like a class 5 cloaking. Like we need a high end ship, because that's what someone said in the chat. Like, you know, Lursa and Bator's cloak. You wouldn't want to go into Romulan space with a junker ship. So I would appreciate if it was like, but then the guy at the end would have to be he seems like just anyone. It would have to be a high ranking guy, but that would have been a nice addition. Like, we need a good cloaking device, not one of the old ones. A good one.
Yeah. I think the big deal that was placed on the cloak thing was like, so you're another political faction who wants to borrow one of our invisible ships to go do something stealthy. That could look really bad for us. It's kind of that implication, not so much you want a cloak ship? Oh my god.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
More of a, you know, what the hell are you doing with it kind of thing.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that now then. Picard's starting an act of war, and so is the Klingon Empire, and they treat it like it's nothing. You can't just go into Romulan space in a cloaked ship. You're not at war with them, but you haven't. There's a neutral zone for a reason. You're breaking the treaty. There's a reason why every time everyone breaks the treaty, they say, you know, this could start a war, and this is sanctioned by the Federation and the Klingons. No one seems to treat it like a serious breach of the treaty of, you know, whatever. This is a big deal, and the fact that it's this easy. Also, you muted.
I gotta cut you off real quick, just for 1 second. Hello, Sylvia, and hello, Oma.
Oh.
Sylvia's helping her Oma, and they're watching live, I guess. So
cute.
Hi.
Hello.
Anyway, sorry. Continue your thought. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, just, you know, it's an act of war to the Romulans. And the Klingons are involved. This is because, you know, they don't seem to have the weight on it of... But also, because it doesn't seem impractical at all, are they just saying that, yeah, you know, we have like 10 ships in Romulan space all the time because we have cloaking devices? Like, it's played off like nothing, but it's like, that's a huge deal, surely. What do you think?
Yeah, you would think it would be. I mean, it makes you wonder how many captains just go, hey, I'm going to cloak my ship and go hang out, you know, orbiting Romulus.
I want one with a nail. Best way, get it from the source.
Yeah. Or how many Romulan ships are cruising around by space dock, just, you know, like, it is kind of sketchy. And yeah, if they get discovered, it's a pretty big deal. So
it's a joint venture to infiltrate the homeworld of your enemy.
Yeah.
Sanctioned by both heads of government. And you wonder why they don't trust the Federation.
The propaganda is true. Federation.
I think if you'd recontextualize it slightly, saying we need a vulture, we need top tier cloak, we need experienced captain who knows how to avoid the Romulan detection grids. But you've got to imagine without hesitation that the Romulans know every ship that goes into their space, that a Klingon cloak is not going to muster. Surely Romulus will have the top anti-cloaking devices to detect cloaks around their homeworld. Like, they know they're there. I don't know if that's in part 2 or not, but I would be hard-pressed that they don't know every ship that's cloaked in their space.
It's not in part 2. But you're right. I mean, when you're as treacherous, devious as the Romulans, you can't even trust your own people.
Yeah.
You'd want to have cloaking detectors. Like, yeah.
You also invented cloaks. As you said, the side cannons, they gave Klingons the worst cloak. And if Romulans come spies in Klingon space very easily, they would have the spines of their cloaks.
To be fair, the Klingons have a lot of chance to improve the cloak, though. So it's not the worst cloak anymore. But yeah, you'd still think that the Romulans would be cutting edge. Klingons would be slightly behind.
Yeah.
So,
but if the idea is to always, you know, it's a war between the cloak and the cloak detector. But if you're fighting your own best cloaks, why can't you work on the Klingon cloaks? It just seems like an odd... That's why I like this conspiracy idea. It adds a lot more prudence to how they could just... Because how much space they have to warp through.
Yeah.
Like, if it's that easy, it's that easy, you know. And whereas I can buy that Sela managed to completely easily get to Kronos and back at warp, because she is like one of the top people in the military, so she would have the best cloak of the time. This guy, I mean not this guy, but the guy later on, is implied to be just a random lieutenant, like no one special with a crappy bird of prey. Like he's like, they sent him a minivan. It's like, well, that's got a cloak. I mean, it's faulty, you know, it's rusty, but it's got one. So it's just a, you know. Oh, Area 51. It's only a treaty violation if you get caught.
Yes.
Damn. Mic drop.
It's true, unless you can talk your way out of it. But I don't know what excuse you would come up with for that. Yeah, we our navigational deflector went a little wonky, and
How wonky? Oh, 150 light years. Oh, in a straight line. Yep. I'm back to warp. Yep. Huh.
yeah, we detected life signs on this planet. We thought they may be able to help us. Oh shit, it's Romulus. We didn't know.
We wanted to be the first ones there. Our sensors malfunctioned. We wanted to colonize it for Kronos. Yeah. But I actually quite like this guy. I think he's got a good vibe. Oh, and then don't you just love this light effect on Data's face, how it contours to his face beautifully. Simple but wonderfully done.
Yes. Are they removable data? My ears? No. It's this fun little scene.
Yeah.
And changing his skin color should be possible, but we're just worried about changing it back. It's like, oh, okay, well.
I like that
interesting.
caveat. Yeah, because not every procedure is meant to be back to normal. I think this is definitely this is where the one episode shines their chemistry and the uniqueness of this, because we've never seen this before. You know, although to note, we have seen other people pretend to be other races, but this is purely plastic surgery. This is not DNA. This is not something very advanced. It would not, if they got scanned, it wouldn't be enough. So that's why they've got to beam into a civilian area where there's not going to be scanners, because otherwise they would be. It's only surface level, you know.
It's
similar to what Bashir does in the Klingon one, just with less makeup.
Yeah. Well, anyway, she's like, trust your tailor, because his one eye is 0.004 lower than his other eye.
But one's perfect, so.
Exactly. Well, yeah. Anyway, LaForge has made progress with the metal fragments. She's like, but these two will be down there in half an hour because they have an appointment with Mr. Mott for their hair pieces. That's great.
I was really expecting Picard to roll his eyes and say, "Make that 2 hours. He talks a lot."
Yes.
That was waiting for a joke.
Can't wait to hear his input on what this fucking is.
I bet Riker said, "Oh, yeah, I'd love to hear what Mott's theory about Spock is." It's like, what? Oh yeah, he knows everything. It's like, what? Hard cut to. And I've met Spock. If I was a betting man, I think Spock's gone to meet Pardak. It's like, how do you know that, Mott the barber? Well, I hear things. Like, that'd have been great. But I think Seela's involved. How about Seela? Look, it's not important. That, you know, ample for a bit of a joke, but it's okay.
Anyway, then we find out that what they have there is an actual deflector array, and I love the Riker's response. Who wants a Vulcan deflector array? Like, does that mean Vulcan deflector arrays are like subpar or what?
How insulting is that?
You know?
And he says it so quickly.
Yeah,
like that's his first. Oh, a Vulcan deflector. Ooh. Yeah.
So they identified the ship as the T'Pau, which is
a nice reference to TMP.
Yep. And it was sent to the surplus depot at Quailard 2. And so they don't know if it's there, but Riker's going to go take a look. And we get the notification that a Klingon vessel is decloaking off the port bow. Shoot to kill. What?
And I far prefer decloaking to uncloaking. So I got pissy at Discovery for saying uncloaking, but they said it in TNG as well. Decloaking, much better. You cloak and decloak. You don't uncloak. But, you know, Discovery, blah. And Dan23 also reminds us that Captain Kirk was also Romulan plastic surgery in Enterprise Incident. Yes. Very true. Yeah. Good remembering. But yeah. So
yeah, they're going to beam over soon, and Riker's going to go check out Quailard 2.
Now, I'm wondering, because when they cut to this Klingon bird of prey, and I was watching the Blu-ray on my TV, very soft. Didn't feel like HD, and a lot of the stuff with the bird of prey didn't feel like HD. I know there's a lot of bloom, everything's which diffuses light, but it felt really dirty. Like, so low in detail. I'm wondering if this stuff may have been lost, or it was just filmed in such a way it was out of focus. It was very...
They're just like, it's a Klingon ship supposed to have atmosphere and shit floating in the air.
Yeah.
Let's just not high def this.
Yeah, because it felt very mucky and gruesome or grungy. It was very odd. So we just had a very crisp, sharp bay, and it's like, ugh, that's very defocused.
I love how the Picard can't tell him anything about the secret mission. He's like, it's about the defect. You're going for the defector, aren't you?
No.
How'd you know that? Yeah, word gets around. You don't think you could keep something like that quiet, do you?
Which obviously explains how the Romulans knew it. Because I was wondering that later on. I was like, how do they find out? But if this random Klingon knows, it got around. It got around real quick.
Yeah. What else does he say here?
Oh
yeah, you realize what'll happen.
I'm not looking at the Picard for most of the scene. Just a note.
Yeah. Well, that's just the lack of respect.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, the whole you realize what'll happen if they discover us, don't you? Yep. Oh, okay, good. Then we're gonna go.
Yeah, I really enjoyed him asking questions. That feels odd. He's not as gung ho as a Klingon you'd expect to be. So I really quite liked that. Although he just sort of gives up at the end. It's like, okay, I guess you don't care that much. But yeah, I actually quite liked him. He's a very mild feeling Klingon, because you kind of get the sense that throughout the Empire, those that are more bloodthirsty and aggressive and powerful have higher ranks. Have you met Kern and Martok? And those that really aren't quite as good, but maybe more strategic or good at other things, lower end ships. He's that guy, which is fine.
And Jay Donaldson says it's Stephen Root. I saw Stephen Root's name in the opening credits, and if I'm not mistaken, he's the guy from Office Space. He plays the guy with the stapler. I'll burn this place to the ground. Anyway, I didn't know it was him, so that's awesome, actually.
Yeah, I recognize his voice, but I couldn't quite place it.
And Matt says, my guess would be that it was a choice made by whomever was in charge of the TNG HD project at the time.
Yeah.
Not sure who was the lead over there at the time.
I don't know if you also thought it looked soft, Matt. I mean, you can see his eyes and etc. So I just think it was it was an odd choice. But we get introduced to their bunks, Stuart.
Before the bunk thing, though, when the ships take off, the bird of prey does this, and the Enterprise beep, beep, backs up. You're in space. Just turn around. It's a cool maneuver. It really is. It looks awesome, but it's just kind of impractical in the situation. I don't know.
It's also where they're clearly turning on an axis that is like in the nacelle.
Yeah.
It's not even a center of gravity turn or moved by thrusters. It's a very odd. And it's all reused footage. I mean, it's all cleverly composited 2 layers together. But although hey, I think it's clearly a cavort, because boy, that thing's a big old ain't no Burrell. So it's a cavort. They are certainly stronger than Burrells. But yes, then we get the bunks or the bunk, and the famous scene of, we do not. Is that this scene or is that later scene?
Yeah, this is it.
Okay.
We don't, this is not a luxury ship. We have limited space, and we do not pad our beds with soft. We do not soften our bodies by putting down a pad.
And also the famous edit of that then that Major Grimm did, then hard cutting that to, Worf in all of his office, in all of his bedrooms, because he does do soft.
Well, to be fair, he was raised on Earth with his parents, so he's used to a bed. So.
Oh, I completely agree. But that's part of the statement of he's not used to being Klingon, because the standard is he's like, yes, I want soft. He's even wearing like muslin, lovely silk sheets on one of them.
True, he's getting the best of both worlds, best of both cultures. Also, yeah, you don't serve human food. You'll have to eat with us. And Picard's like, oh yeah, haven't had some good gach in a while.
Yeah, that was definitely fun to see Picard, play the fight, have the, but he says it in such a I'm gung ho way, but it's forced and fake, but he says it in such a good way. You wonder why is it such a good.
Even hits the bed.
Yeah,
I prefer it this way. Like, boom.
because you can't blink with Klingons, and this guy's, like I said, not the most hardcore Klingon, but he's matching the energy, and he's like, it's all good, it's all good, it's all good. No, it's good.
Yeah. All right, so like near Qualar 2, and it's operated by the Zakdorn.
Who is an alien reuse from the one with the Hathaway.
Yes.
It was nice to see the same race back.
Yeah. Anyway, Klim Dachikin is his name, and he's the quartermaster of the Surplus Depot Z15. Yeah. Anyway, he's very off-putting. And have you made an appointment? No. Well, maybe arrange an appointment with booking. I'm not unable to help you right now. So, contact scheduling. Boop. Screen's done. I love the back and forth with Riker and Troy here. Like, who does he think he is? He's the quartermaster of the spy yard.
It's such a natural scene, played so well. Everyone's in the right here, but in their own worlds. Because yes. Riker is acting captain of the flagship of the Federation, one of the biggest Starfleet ships in the Federation, one of the biggest crews in all the Federation. He is known throughout the Federation, throughout Starfleet. Many planets have known him. Many women on many planets have known him. ... So, of course he's special, but the way he says it is a bit too arrogant. Who do you think he is? Well, you're going to his office and being demanding. Is he even in Federation space? I don't know. He could just be neutral space. He's not part of the Federation.
He's got a Klingon D7 or Katinga, sorry, in the scrapyard. So
whole variety of stuff. So he's not a Federation. Maybe he's a part of the Federation, but this isn't a Federation outpost. He has no jurisdiction here. They're purely going by the nature of, well, we give stuff out for free because of mutual cooperation. So I think his arrogance comes from the place of where he is in his life, but he could have gone with more tact, or any tact. But also like the alien guy, because he's like, I mean, there's a system, mate. Like, you're not above the law. It's like a politician walking into a restaurant saying, "Oh, I'm the politician. I deserve free food." It's like, or you could book a table like everyone else, have respect for the system. So they're both entirely in the right, and yet both a bit arrogant as who they are. But it's a good setup for the good payoff later when he's nicer. So I thought it was very well played. And this I thought was some of the best stuff, which is kind of sad. This stuff with the stuff is irrelevant in the grand scheme. It's some of the best stuff.
Yeah. Well, Riker's like, we want to look through your files. Well, I don't have men to look through my files. Well, then give them to us. We'll do it. I don't want people going through my files.
Justifiable. I mean, it's fine.
Like, so what's the plan? I don't know. Message me when you get in orbit. It's like, Jesus Christ.
But it's like, yeah, I've got a team for this. Why are you bothering me? I like it. It's very relatable.
And then Riker does the whole, I think this is your job, and passes it off to Deanna.
And I said out loud at this point, so you're going to get lines then? That's what that means. I'm passing the lines on to you. No, I like it. It's a good little... Yeah, it's good. Although I'm surprised they say into or okay, there is a planet. I've seen this a few times. I've never noticed that brown planet ever. Okay. I always think it's just a junkyard in the middle of deep space. Okay, there is actually a planet there. Okay, phew. But we've got a Discovery variant there, Stuart, in the debris.
Yeah.
Which you've held.
A few interesting ships in the debris.
Another kit bash fleet, including a space station that was the basis for Rick's painting. But a Katinga was a nice choice. That was a nice. I
think that's probably not a space station. That's more like a little orbital platform or something.
Well,
it's not. Yeah.
I mean, a space station could be many sizes. A regular one's tiny as well. I just mean not a spaceship.
Yeah. Anywho. So come on board and tie the computers to access the information.
Which I'm surprised there's no A to B element here. There's no, it goes from being, I can't help you, I haven't got time, to, okay, I'll come by personally and give you access and do it myself. I don't know where that transition was. I wish he makes a side note saying, or as Riker comes off the bridge, says, and we'll make sure you get all the contracts for the Anteria shipyard. Okay. You know?
We'll sign over the pink slip to the Enterprise. If anything ever happens to it, you got it. Cheers.
That would have been fun too. So
Because he does say, this is a nice ship. I usually don't see them in such good shape.
which I definitely liked. He acts that well. But where was the connective tissue about? I can't help to here I am personally.
Well, it wasn't I can't help. It's like you're inconveniencing me. I don't have people to help you. And then what's the plan? I don't know. We'll figure it out when you get here. So it's kind of like we don't know how much time has passed, and it's instant. Yeah. Unfortunately, between these two scenes, there's nothing in between. So
small thing. It just could have been better. But I like his acting, I like his costume, I like his makeup. He's memorable actually. And I did not remember if he was the reason the stuff got stolen, if he knew or not. So I was actually left in like waiting to see his reaction. I kind of thought he did know. But I love his reaction to finding out it's not that. I think it's very well played when we get there.
Yeah. Mark Lawrence, $5. I've got to admit that I've acted like this guy this year, but then my excuse was COVID protocol, so I didn't get into any trouble. Don't know how to help you, man. Anyway, so Deanna starts talking to him, and he's like, oh, yeah, well, Mr. Riker there probably assumed that we don't get many handsome women out this way, so that you'll be much more willing to get cooperation from me. He's right.
Oh, it's true, isn't that? Actor Graham Jarvis. What else has he been in then? Actor. Ah. Boy, his moustache.
There we go. Yeah. Heard you.
Go for it, sure.
What? I'm back. So I look for the T'Pau where it's supposed to be. And it's, well, first of all, they find it in the registry. He's like, all right, lay in the heading to whatever, and the head to slow 200 kph. So he's given the orders, and Riker looks and points the finger, to do it.
I mean, it's a fair move. It's his, they're in his space, in his jurisdiction, and it's like, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't he give the directions? Yeah, it's all well played.
And here's the story about the 14-foot Caldarian eel, which would come in great in lower decks. Anyway, he nursed it back to health. So the correct coordinates, and the ship is not there, which has never happened ever in this depot. Which, you know how they are, these guys, with their being precise and accurate. So it was stripped of all of its material, armament, sensors, and it was routed to the Tripoli, where there's they beam stuff to the Tripoli all the time. So they decide to go and wait for the Tripoli,
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I do like how they make you like him with very little screen time. You go from, okay, you don't like him, but you get him, to you like him, and you feel sorry for him. Wonderful guest actor, well played. And I just like the payoffs here. Because, if you've got 130 ships, you're not going to keep track of everything, and you trust the computers, and that's why they take advantage of it, And this is really this is genuinely, like we've said procedural. This is genuinely engaging to watch. We never see, junkyard antics. This is very Star Trekian in that. So I really enjoy this moment, these moments.
Oh my god, the Tripoli is not where it's supposed to be, and they're like, that's not possible. We beamed a shipment over yesterday, and there's another one in like 2 hours. So they decide to sit and wait. And make the Enterprise look like garbage by turning off all the power. You think you'd notice? Well, I guess you wouldn't. It's probably how cluttered the junkyard is, but a big-ass Galaxy-class ship just sitting there that wasn't there the day before? I don't know.
But I'm intrigued that they zoom past 2 Mirandas. That means they're finishing contracts, and they just get Mirandas, fully intact ones, at least visibly. He must have quite a good contract then, because that, we see him use plenty in other things. and they look fine. But yeah, I was, you would think, I would like to think that somewhere in another part of this space debris field, there's somebody who's here to buy random space debris, and he's like, and the second in command of the station is like, so take a look at all of our merchandise, and he's scanning it. He's like, is that a Galaxy class? Ooh, I want that. Oh, a new acquisition. Yeah. Look. Oh god, the warp field generator on that would be amazing. And like
what's the price on that? I can't find it listed. Does that mean it's free?
And he keeps offering more and more money. He's like, okay, sold. He doesn't even know why it's there. Because I mean, there's only like a few of these in Starfleet right now. That you would assume this would, make note. But yeah, it's a fun little sequence of it turning off. And I like the fact that the windows turn off not in sequence. It's it's an effective little moment.
Yeah, it's nice. And Anton Smith says calling a woman handsome as a backhanded insult for others. No. Women have been referred to as handsome for hundreds of years. Yeah. So they park the ship, and then we're back on the Klingon ship. Mm-hmm. And they're talking about, well, this is obviously intended for one crewman. I don't need to sleep. Take the bed, Captain. And then it's just a great little scene of, what are you looking at? Nothing. I'm just organizing my data, my files. And it's good too. It's good that Picard decided to actually get up, because literally like 30 seconds later, come to the bridge. So, but nice little scene. This is one of the most memorable, funny scenes, I think. So,
and this scene says to me like filler, in that we have 5. Because it's a very long scene.
Yeah.
And it's so unneeded, it's unreal. But it's one of the most memorable scenes because you never see this, and the chemistry is so good, and the acting's so good, and it's so interesting. And the fact when he says, "Oh, I'll turn away, Captain," he gives the most evil look possible, and it's like, Brent, why were you giving him death stare? Jesus.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep looking at you for as long as possible with my eyes. Goodbye. Oh my god, what a choice! But it's so memorable. But I mean, this is like 5 minutes. It's a very long scene. It might be the longest scene in the entire episode. This could have been given to any of the other stuff, which shows you how it's a concept to get to Romulus. How to do it doesn't really matter. Let's just do some stuff. So it reeks of that. But it's a great scene. That's, as we've seen in other episodes, some of the best stuff is often the stuff that's secondary because it's character based. It's just a weird one. I both love it. I'm annoyed by it because it's so unimportant in such an important episode.
Memorable scenes from TNG. This is one that usually will come to your mind.
Yeah. And
it's in this episode that, is okay.
Yeah.
It should be a more memorable episode because it's got Spock in it. But like I said, it's the Force Awakens.
Yeah, it was like, the most memorable thing in the Spock episode is when Picard can't sleep and Data looks at him. And which episode? Oh, the Spock one.
Yeah.
The Spock one. Oh, the one Data can't. That's It's a confusing thing as a Trek fan to see, but I like it.
Yeah. So they go to the bridge, and oh yes, monitor subspace transmission that might interest you, and this is where he finds out that Sarek has passed away. So
sad.
Sarek is dead. Yeah.
Underplayed and sad. Although I can't imagine. This has got to be like what, 5 days, 10 days later, because if Vulcan, Kronos and Romulus aren't like several weeks apart at warp. That war is very quick.
That's the thing that comes up in part 2, because the Vulcan ships that are going from Romulus to Vulcan aren't in a hurry. They're traveling at warp 1.
Fucking hell!
How long that would take?
Like decades.
Yeah. I watched both part 1 and part 2 today, obviously.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I know that. But
wow, fuck.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that tomorrow, I guess. But it really bugged me because it's like, damn, son, they're not side by side. It's not Romulus and Remus we're talking about. It's Romulus and Vulcan.
I know Vulcans live 150 years, but God, you'd have to spend all of it on a freighter. But I wish time was more clear in this, because if it'd been, this is totally irrelevant, but if Perrin, there'd been a note from her saying, you seeing Sarek had reignited him for a few more days, and then he died. Like, he used the last of his strength to be himself. I got to spend some time with him, but that clearly used the last of his like life energy, and he died. But I still, it's been a week later, and that, because if it's been like the next day, which
it would, it would have been interesting too if, on that point that you're making, if Sarek mind melded with Picard to exchange information more easily because he was having issues.
Yep.
And that Picard's resolve strengthened him up so that the last time you see him, he's strong.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be great.
Which I also remembered that in this episode, but that was the last episode. My gift to you is one more good day, because it's got to be at least a week later, because you also got to imagine that a bird of prey isn't just going to be right nearby. So at least a day to get from wherever they are to meet the Enterprise, at least a day minimum. Then you're not necessarily going to take 10 minutes to swap over shifts, so you're going to have to be prepared. Then you're going to head out, and like I said, it's going to be at least a couple. I would assume a week or two. Really, it doesn't play that way, but space is quite vast. And we know cloaks aren't as effective at high warp. And so once they get to the border, you aren't going up 9, are you? You're going to go at much slower speed to avoid detection.
Yeah.
So, small things, but yeah.
So Matt Boardman throws in $10 and says, I appreciated that the news of Sarek's death wasn't a big, huge moment. It was subtle and let you, as the viewer, feel the impact of it personally rather than being hit over the head with it. It would be funny if the captain called him the bridge. Hey, I want you to watch this whatever
in memoriam
version of football game with. What's that? Sorry.
It says, I want you to watch it in memoriam. He's like, who died? Oh, Sarek. And he plays a video.
No, it would have been better if he's like, watch the sports ball game with me, this Klingon sports ball game, and all of a sudden, breaking news along the bottom. Sarek is dead.
That would be something.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway,
how did you feel about this ship turning up though? Because this one, I feel
understand this.
Okay, good. Talk to me.
Because they destroy the Tripoli to get. Are they just going to keep accepting shipments without people knowing it's them? All they wanted was. And they later point out in episode 2 that they stole one ship from Quelar 2, 2 ships from somewhere else. So they stole ships, not parts, to get these Vulcan ships. So this whole scene this really still confuses me. Because this thing comes in, it's a warship of some sort. They point that out. And it's just accepting, like, it's just there to substitute for the Tripoli because they had to destroy the Tripoli, I guess. I don't know. None of this makes any sense to me. So I don't know if you have a different take on it, but I just don't understand why this ship shows up.
And they've also seen both parts. So you have the entire information. Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, they don't say USS Tripoli, so we have no context. Is it meant to be a freighter? Is it meant to be a Federation starship but more civilian branch? We have no idea. I would assume it was a freighter that they used to do trade. You strip stuff from ships, you put it on one of your cargo ships, you go sell it. I assume that's what the Tripoli was meant to be. Don't know. And so, the ship takes its place. They have just transponder codes, but where are they beaming from? Because I think they say from the surface, but you can scan from the surface, and you also have a space station orbit, I'm sure, for this thing. So they never bother scanning the Tripoli. It's just the weapon signature is going to be drastic, and they're just beaming
things to a specific coordinate
without any checks
in space.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they like swap transponder codes, fine, but they don't bother scanning, or talking to the captain, via comm. Hey, John, are you ready to take the things? Oh yeah, well, Susan. Yeah.
It almost seems like the Tripoli is like a ship that's always parked there because it's not unmanned. It's just they load it up when they get. Like every day or whatever with stuff that they've salvaged off other ships, and then maybe a crew comes in because it just doesn't make sense. What ship's just going to sit there? All the crew's going to be like, hey, we're just going to sit here.
His point was it's gone, which means it should be there, and they don't say it should be here on schedule. They say we're going to beam stuff in 2 hours time.
Yeah.
So it should be here, right? Yeah. and they rarely play the "it matches our firepower" card, but that's a massive deal because the ship doesn't look or feel big, it doesn't look or feel powerful in the context of how it fires its weapons, and yet it's Galaxy class level. It's the most powerful ship in the Federation right now, which can go toe-to-toe with the Deredex, toe-to-toe with the Negvar. Like, but is this a Romulan ship? Like, is this controlled by Romulans?
I didn't get that sense.
Not me either.
The sensors indicate it's a combat vessel. Origin undetermined. Heavily armed.
Because it makes sense Romulans would have non-Romulan looking ships in service. Great. But to bit of cram the Deredex style firepower into this level of ship, well, that takes a lot of working, and they can't use Romulan weapons because Romulan weapons have a certain signature. So if this is a mercenary group, then how many mercenaries have top-level Federation firepower? And they would send a top-level Federation firepower ship to go do the Junker mission. The cargo run. Because they weren't getting, like, important dilithium. This was just conduit ship. Like, if this ship is it can't be the most powerful ship, it has to be one of many doing a basic bitch mission.
In the next episode, he goes to visit the lady at the plays with the forearms, the piano, because it's her husband that he kills here. Her ex-husband is the captain of the ship.
Okay.
And then you got the fat Ferengi, who he gets the information from about where the Vulcan ship was actually stolen from. So there is somewhat connective tissue, but it still doesn't make any sense. Because even here they say mass and density suggests it's fully loaded with cargo, and Geordi says I'd say that a lot of the internal scans indicate a lot of that is weaponry. So these are like weapons dealers. So I mean, it ties
which is
into
not what they're getting from this facility.
Exactly. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just stupid, but they try to have some connective tissue in the second one, and it just kind of, I don't know, because a Ferengi ship crashed on an asteroid. It had a Vulcan deflector on it. What the hell does that have to do with anything here, first of all? Second of all, in the second one, they say they literally stole a ship from a Vulcan ship from, I forget the name of the place, near the neutral zone where the Enterprise goes next time. So this is all leading up to them finding the fat Ferengi who knows where the Vulcan ship was stolen from. I don't understand how the debris on the asteroid linked into this whole story anyway.
Well, it got them to this facility. From a ship that was, I guess, disassembled, parts given to other ships to sell, for the Romulans, I guess. Like, how does this link to Romulans? Why would this... I guess just mercenaries that work for the Romulans that take pieces. And also, Dan says, yeah, the Tripoli is on Memory Alpha, which is obviously more legit. And actually, the Tripoli was a cruiser that was the Omicron Theta. The Tripoli was a ship that found data.
And Matt Boardman puts in $5 and says the Tripoli is listed as a cruiser and is actually referenced in a graphic seen in the pale moonlight.
There you go. Yeah. So it isn't destroyed. It's NCC 19386. So it's an old ship that picked up data. There is USS. So a Federation Starfleet ship is picking supplies up. And yet this guy is quite dismissive of Starfleet, even though he works with Starfleet. You would think the flagship of Federation coming to you, he'd be more interested in it rather than dismissive. So that doesn't connect either. Yes, Bryce, they do.
I'm back.
Stuart, it's as if they just wanted to have a Spock plot and give everyone something to do and didn't really think it through properly. And tried to write both episodes in like 45 minutes and...
Yep. And the main bulk of the story is in the second episode with the unification thing, so... Anyway, Eugene, 1,000 rubles. Unification is an epitome of Picard and Data episode. Also, it's Picard as diplomatic episode. Very nice, and only negative thing is there is a hint of Star Trek 5. Hint of Star Trek 5.
Oh, it's the bar in part 2, I think.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. It's just... Because I really would have... It would have made more sense if it was a Romulan ship. or if it was the Tripoli that was kidnapped, like if it was a Federation, if it was an Excelsior, and it was armed to the teeth like a Galaxy, you know, it would have made way more sense if it was anything apart from what they showed. And the way they show the battle, obviously, it's a battle, but the way they present it is it fires, its shields go down, down, down. Then equal firepower, it fires back. They say their shields are damaged, which is a non-number, and then it backfires and destroys the whole ship. For a battle that seems almost one-sided at a certain point, it ends abruptly and pointlessly. It's a pretty poor non-battle. And since they don't know who they are, they just murder lots of people and don't even flinch. Never the fact of we can't find more information. They just killed lots of people. Don't know who they are. Don't know what I've done. I murdered people. Like, we don't murder that many people in the Federation, like, you know, not at war, etc. And it's just a lack of acting or lack of concern, or it's just a weird set of it's a weird end to this fun subplot.
The explosion was a result of massive internal explosions, so all the weaponry that it was carrying exploded inside.
Yeah.
So
Secondary explosions.
Yeah.
Which is you know a makes sense way for a weapon ship to go, but boy, maybe put the weapons more under lock and key, because or you know, more secure, etc.
Matt Boardman's like, they had it coming.
Did they? All we know
maybe
is that
we don't know.
They maybe have the Tripoli somewhere else on lock and key. It's obviously not destroyed as in DS9 later. It's like, I don't know.
Miguel Moreta puts in $10.
Oh, thank you.
Is this the only jet black ship in 90s Star Trek? No. We had the Husuk. We had
Sheliak.
Sheliak, yeah.
All the same model. And the same vague paint scheme. But yes, very few. It was an odd choice. But then we cut to one of the more fun sequences. It's odd because you know that both Brent and Patrick are acting like Data and Picard. They're not trying to be any different, and yet just the fact that Brent has all his makeup on, his face looks so different that he isn't portraying Data, even though he is. That shows how important the makeup is. To kind of give him the vibe.
Well, they look good as Romulans, I guess. But
Patrick with hair, which is glossed over contextually, but it's like, he never has hair. He looks great.
Yeah. But Picard's kind of waxing poetic about this mission having changed for him somewhat, now that he has to not only find out what the hell's going on with Spock, but also tell Spock that his father passed away. So it's a good scene. It's a nice little good Patrick scene for sure. And then Data's like, well, you know, he'll understand. That's just the natural progression of the logical result of his father's illness. And he's like, it's not that simple. You know, you've got to remember Spock is also half human. And then years spent in conflict and not being able to resolve it. And Data doesn't understand why years went by and they didn't, considering the long lifespan of Vulcans. That's just illogical. But, you know, fathers and sons, both proud, both stubborn.
Good scene.
Yeah. And then the whole, be careful, the android, some Romulan beauty might lick that paint right off your ears. Fun scene. Oh, and this is also the Klingons like, by the way, our mission was just to get you here. Just to understand each other. It doesn't include any rescue missions. It's like, oh, well, shit. We want to hear that before beaming down.
Well, I'm wondering, when they decloak to beam them, they get detected by the Romulan orbital facilities and ships. Does he just warp away and come back, and now the Romulans are on high alert? Or does he... Because they say they go to a separate place to get dropped off, but they don't have a ship lined up. They don't have any links to Romulus. So how exactly do they get into the surface? You can't beam through shields. So I guess they just will leave and then come back. You would think a Klingon, a ship in orbit of Romulus would, alert them, make them a bit nervous. It's a bit weird. Doesn't really make sense. Does not add up.
No, it doesn't at all. Actually, never really considered that.
Because when previously we've done this, they would go to a neutral freighter. They've done that before. But there ain't no neutral freighter here. But what isn't neutral? Incredible shot of Romulus. Excellent map painting. Great creative vision. Very, very nicely done.
And no movement. They didn't put little people in, so it's kind of like you can. When they pan across later, it's like so evidently a painting. But
I think the sky does move a little bit. I think
the sky changes color, and yes, there are different clouds and stuff. But
because that's on a separate matte layer, and they can just like move it.
Yeah.
Even a little bit, but yeah, it's but it is a long shot though. I don't know how you would make people move. It's very grand.
They've done it with Kronos and other planets. Just little sections that are like blue or green screened out, where you have little people walking.
But I mean, this is like there isn't anywhere here that you would do that on. You'd have to make a new map painting, because that's like there's a building in center frame and a city. There is no building here. These are roofs, I guess maybe you could argue there's a trees and there's pathways, but it's not.
Or put a bird, something moving would be fantastic.
Yeah. Or maybe some traffic, maybe some Delta Quadrant ships like they do in Nemesis.
A Discovery shuttle.
Now that's a fan film, covering the Discovery shuttle, like throw into every map painting and all of TNG and Voyager. Like, oh look, there it is. Never changed, not a single paint difference because they didn't bother. But then we hard cut to Romulus, where I guess I worked out that the company that makes the Star Trek Federation monitors also sell to Romulus, because that's Picard's view screen with shit on the sides and repainted. It's so blatant. I guess they import them from another third party because it's embarrassingly similar.
They're all made on Chinacron. I don't know.
Oh my God, Stuart! That was a thing you said. That was a thing you said.
There's no proof I said it, so we're moving on.
But speaking of moving on, Stuart, give us some, or give the fans some like goals and super chat goals. It's been quite light on both today.
All right, guys, I want to see 30 more likes. I'm going to be harsh. 30 more likes to get to 100. Hit it if you haven't. And as for super chat goals, I mean, at least another 40 would be great. But any more than that would be also fantastic. So if you can, please do.
Although perhaps the fact that our super chats are under half where they would normally be, and our likes are under half, that people don't like Unification either so much, that people didn't turn up to watch it.
Maybe they're going to wait for Unification 2 tomorrow.
But it is interesting how, we do, people know these are happening, and if you don't turn up, that then shows interest level. So maybe this one isn't as popular as it should have been.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I'm surprised, because we never see these scenes ever. The idea of actually seeing Romulus, seeing people talk, is quite like, oh, this is what inter-Romulan politics feels like. Cool. It's all struck me about it.
Well, the guy asked Pardek, what do you know of Picard? And he's like, I know nothing of him. I don't think I've ever seen him before. To my knowledge, I've never seen him. Yeah. But apparently he's here. And I love Pardek's reaction. Here? On Romulus? And by the way, this is Commodore Mendez from Star Trek TOS, The Menagerie. So if you guys didn't know, that's the same actor. So, anyway, so circulate this guy's likeness around to the security forces. And if he's here, he's probably disguised as one of us. Quick little scene.
It's good, though. And it's fun because your brain says, oh, they're Romulans. They're Vulcans, but they're so emotive. They're so nuanced. It's like, oh yeah, we don't get to see this ever. So it was fun. I liked it.
Yeah. Air 51, $5 Picard. Hey Spock, how's it going? Did you have a good weekend? Oh, by the way, yeah, your dad's dead. Are you a traitor?
Oh dear.
Yes. Yeah. Don't envy Picard.
And T-Reed says maybe people are at work like I was earlier. Possibly, but we've done these for over a year now, so we can sort of sense the pattern. This is at the same time, and if most people work most days a week, give or take, if they work at a job. You know.
Yeah, we do the same time, and we announced this one like yesterday. So, yeah. 81 likes though, so we've got 11 likes, which is fantastic. Another 19 would be great. So, and thank you. If you can, any super chats you can put in would be greatly appreciated. Just comments, thoughts, things you know about the episode that we don't. If you can explain what the hell's going on with the other ship and the Ferengi connection, that'd be fantastic, because I still haven't puzzled that together.
And it's 25 years later.
I know.
Which is actually, oh no. But I do quite like the Romulan like ground. You know, it's nice to see. It's not super rustic, but it's still, you know, it's a good balance of bit shit and just average town.
I love how Data's like, despite all the quality issues with the picture we got, you can tell this is the street. It's like, okay, good job.
Yes, that moment's overplayed. It's like, who cares?
Yeah. And then let's go sample some cuisine.
Well, no, they say, they say this guy's office is a family name. Although, since we now know Romulan's had like 4 names.
And a back door. That's a real door.
So that door's not even, they should know. That's why the lady was so suspicious. Like, why else when it's open? You know the back door is always open at this time of the day. What are you on about? You aren't Romulans. That's actually, oh, damn it, that works. But we get Curmudgeon the lady. Not a very good looking bar either, so not very wealthy, but this isn't exactly a very rich looking area. Yeah. And she's just like, you guys, you're foreign. You're foreign.
You talk funny.
Are you immigrants? But it's you know, they're a mischievous race. Although I love the fact that after this, like, you know, having a go with them, she's like, I don't care at the end. She has both extremes. It's fun. It's just like they're just questioning, querying, who the hell are you?
She's just a nosy old woman who, like, when she didn't get her way and get information, she's like, I don't care then.
Yeah. Yeah. Romulan. It's a. Yeah.
Like, how could you live on Romulus? I wouldn't trust anybody. You know.
Yeah. But I think you know who you can't trust most, and therefore you can trust those who you do trust the least, the most.
It's like living in the mirror universe.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Hey.
How do you do that shit?
But it works somehow, and so this works somehow too. Yeah. Very weird. But no, it's such a good little moment. And they got good answers. The acting's like very believable. And you know, I would like to try some Romulan soup.
Yeah, there's a different kind of soup in part 2. Like, all the Romulans eat is soup.
Well, it's like broth. I mean, in medieval ages, you know, broth was a big deal because it was cheaper and easier. I kind of wish they'd had him note, because Data actually acts more on the soup than Picard does for some reason, but I kind of wish Data said, if I had olfactory senses, this would not be pleasant. Picard says, it is not. And I'll eat it anyway. And Data says, well, at least Dr. Crusher was able to give you a antitoxin so you can eat this. You know, based on the colouring, this is anti-brack soup that has 45 dangerous chemicals to humans. You'd be dead within the 5 minutes. He's like, yep. Eat. Like that. I think the scene could have been much funnier. I think, like, the context of, because why would you be able to eat Romulan food? You know, just straight out the farm Romulan food with all the bacteria that you've never lived with. Would have been nice to have that slight play. Small thing, but you know, there are more things they could have done with this.
Anyway, they're being watched, and Data's like, perhaps you should appear to enjoy your soup, sir.
Although, because this is Romulus, I didn't remember that they were going to be fake guards. Because it's Romulus, you kind of associate, they're just like, oh yeah, these aren't locals. I can tell. Like, it's not doesn't necessarily feel like a special we're being watched moment. It just feels like, oh yeah, everyone's always watched. So I kind of like that balance.
Remember when I went to visit you in England, and the coppers, they kept following me around because they knew I wasn't from there. You remember?
Well, I mean, when the cavity search was insisted, I was like, he's only Canadian. You know, we limit the cavity searches to Americans. I thought, you know, just I don't know. and they found maple syrup up every orifice. It was very confusing.
Hey now, we're stuffed full of goodness. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so they get confronted in the street by these guards. Like, quiet. Come with us. And you're like, oh my god, it's going to be a problem. No, they go into a cave, and like how right away the Romulan guards start taking off their Romulan guard uniforms. Like, why are you doing that? I get you're trying to say that you're telling us, the audience, that you're not actually bad guys, but Pardak's there talking to them. I think we understand.
Yeah.
Which is clumsy.
And also, you know, so obviously the same walk down that was in like 2 episodes of the Crystal Entity. Like, I quite like the extra beams, but it's like, oh yeah, that's the one walk down bit.
Yeah.
They
use this quite a few times, actually.
It's the main set piece. That's the thing. It's the main set piece. I wish as they'd walked down, they'd said, "So the caves, eh? Is this the assassination spot?" You know, I'm given the fact that the visual that we beamed into was a sprawling city. Going down to dark caves is a bad sign. They don't put up any fight, any confusion, because they have to get to the next moment. I wish they'd said something about, you know, are you a death squad? Are you good guy? You know, something, because this isn't normal. I remember them being in a house, and then the Spock things later. But you would think caves would be more worrying, but whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, Pardak says, "Don't worry, I am Pardak. You are among friends, Captain." And Picard's like, "I have an urgent mission from the Federation. I'm looking for Ambassador Spock." And then off screen, somebody says, "Indeed," and it says in the subtitles, "Male." A male says, "Indeed." And then, "You have found him, Captain Picard." And Spock steps out of the shadows.
And the episode can begin.
Yes, somebody hand that man a lightsaber.
And then throw it in the next episode.
Toss it over his shoulder.
Wouldn't that be great? Here's your comm badge, Spock. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a good end. It's a very Discovery end of the whole episode was a bit let down, but the sting, next episode, it kind of gives you that high. But it's just because seeing Leonard Nimoy, you know, it's 100% just on his nostalgia value, and why is he in a? I don't know, reasons. But yeah.
James McGill though, $2. Romulan troop transports designs doesn't make sense. Troop transports design.
Oh, he means maybe the troops, the design of the uniforms.
Oh.
I mean, shoulder pad central.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of shoulder pads in the next episode. You could like serve drinks on the shoulder pads.
That's all they have. But there you go. So ends part 1 of the most viewed TNG episodes of all time.
That's sad, actually. But I know why. Yeah, I mean, I get it. They really hyped this up back in the day. Like, look who's returning to Star Trek. Ah. It's like, wow, chill. But yeah, this is very much a setup episode. The main, like I said, this part 2 is kind of like the whole plot. This was just let's get there and string it out to be 2 episodes. Maybe this was like a menagerie type deal where they had to save their save the show because they had no budget, so they kind of threw something together. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that being said, there's a lot of stuff in this first episode.
So what time is it now, Stuart?
It's 10-second tidy time.
Don't know what that means, but okay.
It's okay. It is the time of the show where you guys put in your scores, super chat scores out of 10 for this episode, and also for season 5, which is what we're in, and also for all of TNG. So 2 scores out of 10. Super chat them. I'll read them after we're done giving our little spiels. If you just want to put in the regular chat, you can do that as well. The commander will read those, but we really do need at least another $40 in super chats to close out. So a couple 5s would be great. There is that last super chat slot, so consider all that while we're talking here.
Because I want to know your guys' scores. I do want to know your guys' scores. So 4 of you at 5, that's a good start. Or 4 of you at 10, whatever. Let us know your scores and why. Because in super chats you can put more information. I'd love to know why you think what you think for this one. Yeah, Stuart, give me your final sort of review then. And has it changed since we talked about it?
Hasn't changed since we first talked about it. No. I did enjoy this one. Like you said, the Enterprise stuff was good. Everybody kind of got something to do, except for Crusher. Crusher was the only one that, well, Crusher and Geordi, kind of equal parts. But I mean,
although actually Worf probably got the least, because he was just the messenger man. Was the other two at least like a part of the story more?
Okay, yeah.
But really, they're all equal 3. Let's be fair. But they all had equally nothing. Like, well, equally something.
That was confusing, but yes, I know what you mean. So, the deflector thing, that whole storyline still doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Even when we watch part 2 tomorrow, we'll try to figure it out. But it's kind of a weird way to lay breadcrumbs down to get from point A to point B. It just doesn't quite work. Because it's like, oh yeah, we're doing this thing, and Sarek's wife's coming aboard. Oh, by the way, on a passive sensor sweep, we found this. It's like, what does that have to do with anything? But anyway.
And given that they went to Sarek to get information, all he could say was Pardak, but who was in the one picture they had? Pardak. So had they actually scanned the picture for faces, they also would have found Pardak. So Sarek, completely useless. He gave no extra information whatsoever. Just saying, he was a completely redundant part of the story.
Wow, yeah, that's true. I mean, there's some good Picard Data stuff in this one for sure. Definitely some good character moments for those guys. And, I mean, seeing Romulus is great. Stephen Root as a Klingon, now that I know it's Stephen Root, that was awesome. So there's that. But there's a lot of problems with the story, especially, like, infiltrating Romulan space in the way that they do. That's war making stuff that they got going on there. So I don't know if I don't know. There's a lot of issues with this one. This one seems like they had a great intro to the story, but then they had to stretch it to a full episode, and that's the problem. The next one's kind of jam packed, and it's pretty good actually, as far as overall pacing and stuff goes. So this one just seems like,
well, I'm sure what we're going to say is that they should have had Spock appear like 5 scenes earlier in this to have more time to develop the next part, because this feels padded and like in an interesting way. But if the next one feels too jam-packed, well, if that's what the meat is, spread the meat out more. I know they want to end on look at Spock, but if you'd given us Spock plus a scene, you could have more time next week for more development. Because I remember being quite rushed next week. Like, oh, it's there, okay, done. So, oh, well, that wasn't satisfying, was it? Whereas this one could easily have rebalanced to give more stuff to the meat. Like, you know, just introducing Seela is a big deal. On top of
she's
all
so
this
useless. Stuff. She's so useless in part 2, but we'll get there. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's like best of both worlds a little bit. There's a weird imbalance of concepts and what's in what.
Yeah. So yeah, seeing Romulus and stuff was great. Pardak, great character, great actor. And then the zinger of seeing Spock at the end, and you have found him, and he steps out, which was really great. But it's such a like, really, I watched this whole episode because you guys were touting Spock was going to be on this today, back in the day, and this is what we got. It's like, so it's kind of frustrating. It's just, somebody said in the chat, it's a Spock tease the whole episode. Scoring wise, oh my goodness, for season 5, I'll give this a 7 just because it's riding on the Spock name.
The Spock 5 seconds.
Yeah. But I mean, there's some great Picard and Data moments, which definitely help out the overall story. So, for all the TNG, see, the thing is, this one, when you ask people about TNG episodes, this one will inevitably come up as a, hey, I remember that one, but only because Spock is there. So it's not as good as I think a lot of people remember it or want it to be. So for all of TNG, I'm going to have to give it a 6.5 out of 10. It's, well, that might be too low. I'll give it a 7 out of 10 for all TNG. It's enjoyable enough to watch, but I guess I have changed my mind a little bit since we've talked at the beginning, because I thought I enjoyed it rather more than I did. It is kind of hollow, though.
Well, it's because a lot of the scenes are fun, but the kind of tissue is poor.
Even
the logic is poor, but the only thing about the individual scenes, because it's like, oh, okay, this is a fun. Oh, okay.
Even scene transitions don't make sense. The editing, like there's spots where there should have been another scene between.
Mm-hmm.
Like the perfect example is I don't know what we're going to do. You just message me when we get to orbit. Oh, you're in orbit now. It's like no time's passed, so we don't know. We don't have a sense of time passing, unfortunately. So yeah, I think it suffers from a few different issues.
Mm-hmm.
But
guys, put your scores in right now. Super chat Stuart, normal chat me. I want to know your scores right now. And $15 more, guys. 15 if you can get that beat.
And 8 more likes to get to 100. That's definitely reachable. So
splendid. Okay, so 7 and 7, Stuart.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so. How about you?
I mean, it's not one of my favourites. I liked the Riker stuff more than the other stuff, which is sad. And there's 2 good scenes with Data and Brent, but that's because it's... Well, Data and because that's the actors are good, It's, like I said, it's hollow. It's a hollow episode. You can tell they had a part 2 concept and wrote part 1 after. It's the exact opposite of Best of Both Worlds. They had part 1, never part 2, and there's a misconnection, It's like they should have introduced Seela in part 1. That would have been great as a setup, Setting up part 2 really well to pay it off. Having Shelby and then not use her at all is a poor setup. Not having seen this one, she's, like I say, useless in part 2. Whereas if you'd had, at some point, I don't know, a note of, we just got another transmission of data, here's an updated picture of Spock, and then you see, like, at a console, beep beep, and it's Seela, and, like, she's sending them information? Oh, what does that mean?
Well, what would have been great is for the end here to have Spock walk out with Seela some other Romulans behind him.
Oh.
And they cut it there, like you don't know whether they're working together.
Yes.
He's defecting.
Oh my god, that would have been amazing.
But then it turns out at the beginning of the next episode that he had just been taken captive.
Or seen as a good girl or good guy. Because that would have been great if that reveals that she was actually good, bad, bad, good the whole time.
Or they're holograms to see what Picard's reaction would be as far as whether he believes that he's a defect. I don't know. Yeah. Something. You could have done something.
Or remove Pardak entirely. Have it be Seela the entire time.
Well, no one would buy that Seela wants the reunification, though. That was the thing with the...
Well, why not? Well, she failed the last thing. Maybe she thinks she's going to get power through political change through unification. She wants to run the Empire. I think it could easily justify it, because she's not the normal animal of a Romulan or of a human. She's got her own way. Because how amazing would that have been? Because then, she's half human, he's half human.
Kindred spirits.
He can relate to her in different ways. She's got, she maybe she learned Starfleet training from... There's a lot you could do there, I think. And then you'd be able to have that... I mean, obviously the twist would be she's a baddie, but I would have the twist be you think maybe Spock's a baddie and he isn't. It's, whatever. So there's a ton of better ways you could have done this. A ton of better ways. But it leaves me with a sense of Wasn't exciting, wasn't overly interesting. It just, I would probably cut half the episode and replace it with the better half. There's nothing much great about it. Doesn't fail at much, but now we've talked about plot holes. It's filled with plot holes.
And the Sarek scenes, although acted well and really well written, were also very sad to see and kind of a shitty way to end that character. And people end. That's how you see the last little bit of a person. But that was kind of annoying. That's one thing I don't like about this episode is watching those scenes. It's just hard to watch. So
yeah, and what if you'd started the episode instead with Spock meeting Pardak, and then pan out with Romulus. Start strong. Oh my god, he's on Romulus. Then you cut to him because Spock told Sarek where he was going, because he had a final meeting, but they didn't mend the fences because unification. And then Sarek asks Picard on a secret, he says secretly, come talk to me. Perry's like, he hasn't been this clear in months, and he called for you. Then he has a mind meld, which makes, like you said earlier, makes Sarek more strong and Picard more weak for half the episode until he sees Spock. Like, you could have really deepened all that stuff a lot more. Just. But for me, like I say, this is average. It's super average, But most of TNG is better. I will choose most of TNG to watch over this, even the okay stuff, because the story isn't even a good story, really. It's not. It hasn't got much rewatch value for me. And this season obviously isn't the strongest season, so it would have been much worse last season. I'm gonna say 5.5 for this season.
Okay.
And just 5 for all TNG. Like, it's average, probably worse, but I'll wait for more. It's like maybe I'll say 4.5, just below average for TNG, because it's okay. It's fine. Wouldn't watch it again. And you often say rewatch value is important. This has no rewatch value for me at all, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's slightly it's 0.5 better than the Redemption Part 2 for me. And it's 1 point higher for you. So both like about the same more than the first part, which was the Klingon, which had a lot more going. Also had Sealer.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Just not great to me.
Well,
but what do people think?
Let's see what the super chatters thought. Jay Donaldson throws in $5 and says, Part 1 scores 7 out of 10 for me for both Season 5 and TNG. It's a very good episode, and unlike the next episode, it doesn't lean too hard on the guests.
But Relics leans on the guest, make it all about the guest, and gives you a full, deep story. If you're having Spock, you lean on the guest to have a full story. You don't underuse the guest and say, well, why did you bother bringing them in? Make the guest important.
Melissa Jericho says Seela's last appearance. Well, until video games.
What?
Melissa Jericho says Seela's last appearance. I didn't know that. I said until the video games, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, live action. Yeah.
Maui Dave 74 throws in $5. 9 out of 10.
Wow. Jesus.
Are these the only 2 episodes that they tied a series plot to a movie so directly? I think they should have done more of this during DS9's run. To a movie. I mean,
is it even that linked to Star Trek 6? I mean,
not really.
Unification isn't in Star Trek 6, and they mentioned Kittimer. It's just the word Kittimer, really, honestly. It's just because we know it was like a marketing tool. Like, he's in both.
Well, it's what made the friendship between Pardek and Spock possible. And then in the next episode, Pardek actually says, we've been friends for 80 years. So it just ties it all together like that. That's about it.
Yeah.
Eugene, 500 rubles.
Thank you.
8 out of 10. I do like Unification 1 and 2, mostly for Picard dialogues. Picard and Sarek, Picard and Data, Picard and Spock. Yeah, I mean, they're kind of Picard-centric.
I think it's one of those episodes where it's weaker than the sum of its parts. It doesn't come together as a full piece. I haven't seen part 2, so that's even more sad, Because, a lot of the scenes are fun. It's just they don't work well together. We almost needed one full part dealing with the Vulcan storyline with the freighter thing, and then that gives you the link to the Spock in part 2. Almost need to not split it and just do one full part each. A bigger mystery.
That actually would have made more sense for the debris. Is to have the debris be from a ship that Spock was on. So it's like, what happened to the ship? Did it get destroyed?
Yeah.
Did it get kidnapped? What happened?
And then we see he's on Romulus. What?
Yeah, exactly.
But the last place his shuttle was leaving from Sarek. Well, let's go talk to Sarek then. And he says he went to see Pardak, and then he got blown up. But he wouldn't get blown up because He's rescued by Sealer, which you just.
Yeah.
Well, he was killed, trying to be killed by Sealer. Although Mari also says Nimoy's schedule prevented him from doing 2 episodes back to back. It works to have him at the end of part 1, though since it was designed as a 2-parter. See, that's the problem with practicality. But I would have just pushed this shoot back a week, shot a different episode, and then, you know what I mean? I would have made the schedules work better.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Fleet Pause Swiftback, $5. Just got here. Work sucks. Would love to see 100 likes like now. Well, we have 103 now, so by the time I'm reading this, we got over 100, which I didn't think we would do, so awesome. He says, I score this one a 9 out of 10 for Season 5 and a 9 out of 10 for TNG. Damn.
And that's the one, we both have personal ones where we really like them and we dislike them. This one's just such a meh for me.
Yeah, I actually thought I would score this one a little bit higher, but then after going through it, not so much, so... And you also interested to see where part 2 stands.
Well, yeah, because you also saw part 2. Whereas, I'm betting they're going to score very differently. I'm going to be honest. For me, anyway. Probably more consistent for you, but... now, are you going to rewatch part 2 tomorrow, then? I assume not. Or...
Yeah, well.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because I still got to get some screen
caps. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, well... Guys, 10 more bucks. Should I read out the non-super chats, then?
Go for it. Let's hear some scores.
Yeah, $10. Then we're done. Let's see. So, 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 7.5, 10 out of 10, says Donnie. Aussie, 8, 9, from Nimoy, 7, 7.5, 9, 7, 7.5, 8, 8, 5, 5.8. Scroll, 7. And 6 and 7. So this is some people's favourite episodes because 10 is like, top 10 episodes of all TNG pretty much. It's shocking to me because 10 out of 10 is like so some people this is as good as Yesterday's Enterprise,
Well, that's because it has Spock in it, and it's like tying it to the TOS that they love so much. So automatically, this one is lifted up regardless.
You say Spock's in it. He's not. He says,
I know.
He says one line. He isn't in this episode. This is the Sarek episode.
Well, people don't remember that. Unification for them is both parts.
Yep. No, exactly. Well, that's well said. Yeah. But I mean, this is the fun thing about these reviews, though, because we look for different things, and we want those final end of season scores to be different. We don't want the same top 5, top 7.
Yeah.
But I'm also, I'm probably never going to do this again. Watch them all back to back and review them for 2 hours each time. So this is like my list of scores. So when we get to the final, done all 7, I can spend a bloody day going through actually telling us what our top 25 are of TNG and our bottom 25 in order. That's gonna be a hell of a thing to do, but we've often changed our scores after the fact and lowered them, whatever. But these are honest feedback, having just watched it, fresh, real opinions, not based on, I remember when I was 10 I watched it. This is a real opinions. So to say at the end of our 7-season run and say, no, these are actually our top 20. Not based on nostalgia or whatever. Genuinely our top episodes. That's going to be really interesting,
Yeah. A TNG retrospective, like the whole season or series, that'd be awesome. That'll be a long drunk yards life. God damn.
Because there's 200 episodes, so you've got to have, conceptually best 50 even, but probably best 25 or 30. But then you do 2 lives, don't you? Worst 30 and best 30.
Probably, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, presumably they're also joint. We don't really give 1s. I don't even know if I've ever given a 1 actually. So a lot of them will be like 3 and 3, 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Like it would have been helpful if we'd done 3.5s, like a point number. Then we could actually properly do a list. But whatever, I've done that for a couple. But yeah.
Well, guys, another $10 would be great. The last super chat slot is now Fleet Pause, but Fleet Paw works here, so he shouldn't have that slot. So if somebody else is interested, by all means, snipe in it. and let us know if you're looking forward to part 2. If you'll be here for part 2 tomorrow, we're doing it at the same time, obviously. So if you can make it, that would be great. We will not be doing Unification 3 again because we already did that. But List of Jericho said the Unification 3 was the best one out of all of them in the chat earlier.
I mean, the Vulcan lady was great. She was great.
It's good to know it actually happened, even though it's not Vulcan anymore. It's what, Navarre?
Navarre.
Yeah, Navarre. Yeah.
Because that's ballsy of them to rename Vulcan. They don't want to steal a franchise at all by renaming Vulcan. One guy destroyed it. One guy renamed it.
Just gonna say that.
Shocking.
Oh man. Fleet Paw throws in $2. I didn't give Code of Honor. Oh, you didn't give Code of Honor a 1 out of 10?
No, because it's.
What did we give Code of Honor?
I think because we both enjoyed a lot of it. It had some good scripting moments, had some good character moments. That's the thing. It's people remembering and thinking because it's got some racist elements, it's bad. But as we said, it's not racist if they were blue. It wouldn't be racist. It's just because they didn't make them aliens. They made them black people. But it's just an alien culture. Like, that's you projecting. They weren't trying to be racist, so you shouldn't take it as racist. They weren't trying to be. And when you watch it, they're aliens. That's a bit, aliens are allowed to have whatever they want to have. Rewatch it. It's a decent episode. It's just got those problematic elements that should have been noticed.
And List of Jericho says it's the same guy. It's Kurtzman for both instances because him and Orsi wrote that movie. But we're talking JJ and Kurtzman specifically. That's what we said too.
And it was Michelle Paradise that did the Discovery Season 3. So not Alex Kurtzman. It may have been his idea, but that's she's a showrunner, so all comes from her.
Yeah.
Obviously, I could play our review at the end of Code 1 to see what we said.
That first.
Because I don't have that score for some reason. I need to find the Season 1, Season 2. God, June 4th, 2019. We're doing TNG reviews for 2 years now.
Holy shit. And we're only on Season 5. Well, we had a big hiccup in the middle there.
We did.
And there's no one coming up. So we're not going to get it done anytime soon.
Oh my goodness. That is shocking how our cameras are much worse. Mine is much, much worse. How is that possible? I felt like we had the
same cameras.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I know obviously I've got 4K monitors now, so it's pulling from a much higher resolution source, but mine especially looks bad in comparison. Obviously, my lights are much better. And your hair is much different.
You know what else? This would make a great episode. Eugene, 100 rubles. Don't forget. Don't really enjoy that one. 5. Didn't you 5 when the bow breaks? 1 out of 10. Did
this video?
I don't remember. Which was when the bow breaks? No, I don't think so. I think tone deaf. That's a better way of looking at it. I think maybe the one we gave...
There we go. Eugene, 100 rubles. Oh, did you hear it before I got cut off? Okay.
Yes. I don't think so. Okay. That was... I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't 1. I think we did... Maybe I gave 1 or 2 to the clip show. Maybe... But then I also skipped the clip, so it was a 20-minute episode for me. Because I refused to watch clips. It's like, no, that's the episode, everything around it.
Matt Boardman, $2. Illogical snipe.
Illogical!
Honestly, $3 more now would be great, guys.
It's true.
Possible.
It's true. But no, it's This is definitely a very clippable episode. Take the Sarek scene out. Take the dum-dum it's Spock moment, either start or the end, both powerful single moments. Take out Data in his hair. Take out the staring moment. Take out the dude sort of vaguely flirting with Deanna. Like, it's so clippable. So clippable.
Yeah.
Just doesn't work together for me. No, tomorrow's gonna be interesting, guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
same
thanks,
time,
Ryan
same
K.
station.
Thank you and you're welcome. Because obviously we've made all this content, but you've been here for it. And God, how does that make you guys feel? You've been watching these reviews for 2 years. How does that make you all feel?
It feels like it because they drag on and on.
Going from one topic to topic, talking and never stopping about the TNG.
That's not what he says.
review.
That's not what he says.
I
That's not
know,
what he
I'm
says.
inventing
Get
it
right.
as I go so that I can keep talking
No,
about the reviews.
you got to get
I'm
it right.
doing in Unification Part 1 and 2 and 3.
He just kept talking and talking in one long, unbroken sentence, moving from topic to topic so that no one had a chance to interrupt. It was quite hypnotic. Da-dum. Matt Boardman, $5. Go!
Yes, go. I'd wait for it to swap.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, guys.
All
We
right,
will
thanks
see
so
you
much.
tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow with part 2. The Unification. What will happen? Who knows?
You do.
I do. But until then, he's Commander Cockins.
He's got a Foley.